Alright guys, in today's video we have a very interesting PlayStation 5 rumor to go over and talk about here. This has to do with apparently Sony working with Konami on a Silent Hills reboot for the PlayStation 5. But it goes a little bit further than that. Apparently there's going to be 2 Silent Hill games potentially, one of which will actually involve Hideo Kojima. Now I know that that's a lot to take in, and obviously there is a lot to unpack here, but there is mounting evidence that this rumor is actually legitimate, and this is currently going on behind the scenes. So that's why I'm taking some time here to talk about it. But we're also going to be talking about how it is pretty much confirmed by Norman Reedus himself that he plans to work with Hideo Kojima on more projects in the future. He doesn't necessarily specify what these projects are, but it does make you think, could we see a sequel to Death Stranding, or could we potentially see him be part of this upcoming Silent Hill game? We're going to talk more about that, but before going any further, if you could do me a big favor and make sure you hit the like button. It really helps the videos out more than you know, and make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. It says here that rumors do not get much juicier than this one, folks. Speculation of a Silent Hill franchise reboot has been doing the rounds for a couple of months now. However, things have gone up a couple of notches in the past couple of hours. According to Rely on Horror, Sony currently has both a Silent Hills revival project in the works for PlayStation 5, as well as a completely separate reboot of the series. That's 2 titles on their way to the next-gen console, funded by Sony, while Konami continues to own the IP. We understand how hard this is to believe, and we continue to stress that these rumors should be taken with a grain of salt. But Rely on Horror and known Capcom insider Aesthetic Gamer both have a proven track record when it comes to this sort of stuff. There could be some truth to it all. Sony is supposedly working to patch up Konami's relationship with Hideo Kojima in order to bring Silent Hills back on PS5. Meanwhile, a separate project is resurrecting the main franchise with a reboot helmed by SIE Japan Studio. The game has been in development for about a year at the time of this writing, with Kichiro Toyama, Akira Yamaoka, and Masahiro Ito having some sort of involvement. Now, I believe those names are significant because I believe at least one or a few of these individuals are the actual creators of the series or have been involved heavily with the mainline Silent Hill games. And it goes on to say that this isn't the first time we've heard such a game being in the works either, with the same 2 sources reporting on such a reboot alongside a Telltale-style spin-off game. Allegedly, Sony has pitched the game to Kojima as a title more akin to a Telltale/supermassive narrative-driven title, which would offer him, quote, full creative freedom, unquote. Our source does emphasize, however, that Silent Hills is not yet a done deal, and that for now the only game in active development is the reboot from SIE Japan Studio. While Sony is pushing for the series' comeback, our sources do not say that they're out to own the Silent Hill IP. Sony and Konami are working together on these titles. So yeah, as I said, it's a lot to unpack here, and I have to say that I'm a little bit torn with this one. One side of me feels that this makes a lot of sense. It certainly sounds like something Sony would be pursuing, and especially with, trying to get a horror game on board. We know that one of the most successful games during the PlayStation 4's life cycle was Until Dawn, which at first Sony expected to not do well, but it ended up doing incredibly well. And so I have to imagine that come next generation, they would like to have some type of horror title. We did go over that rumor that did come from Aesthetic Gamer, I believe it was like a month or 2 ago, where he had heard from somebody he talked to that is inside involved in the industry that there's going to be a PlayStation 5 horror title. Now, we've also been hearing other reports of Konami apparently actually doing this, wanting to do something with the Silent Hills franchise, and I believe they even commented on it saying that they're still looking into the best way of how they want to continue this going forward. So that's where I feel like when you read this rumor, even though it seems so not believable, to me there's just so much evidence pointing in the direction of this is a thing that's going to happen. The most unbelievable thing here for me, I should say, is the fact that apparently Sony is trying to mend the relationship between Konami and Kojima, and that is insane to me because it's just like, what are the chances of that actually happening? I don't want to say it's impossible, because anything is possible, and we know that Kojima has expressed interest, obviously, in wanting to do a horror game. We know that he had some big plans for Silent Hills, and we know that the fallout between him and Konami was very significant, but that's not to say, it being years later, that they might not, actually, they might actually be willing to just put things behind them and say, you know what, let's do this, let's make it happen. And the one thing that really stands out to me here is they put emphasis on the fact that apparently one of the things that Sony, and I have to believe Konami, are offering Hideo Kojima, if this is true, is, quote, full creative freedom. Now, that's probably music to Hideo Kojima's ears. And so you have to imagine that if this is really something that's going on, it's something that's in the air. That's why we're not really hearing about it. That's why it's a rumor, because Sony and Konami are trying to strike up a deal right now. However, it is very interesting to note that they are saying that this Silent Hill reboot, helmed by, I believe, the original creator, alongside SIE Japan Studio, is a real thing that is happening. It's already locked in. So regardless of what ends up happening with this rumor between Sony trying to mend the relationship between Kojima and Konami, I'm just excited at the idea that we're going to see a new Silent Hill game, and the fact it's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive is pretty significant, I'd say. It's a known IP, and I guess at that point my big question would be, will they be able to do that with and have it be a success? Because we saw just how much damage Konami did to their reputation with the fallout with Kojima and the cancellation of Silent Hills. So I guess my big question is, will they be able to successfully do this? I think they could. I think we're far enough removed. I mean, you're still going to have some people that are just not going to forgive Konami no matter what. But I don't know. I have to be completely honest here and say that I wouldn't mind seeing the Silent Hill IP be resurrected, and if they could get the original creator and it's being funded by Sony and it's a PS5 exclusive, I'd be all for that. But I would absolutely love to see Kojima somehow mend his relationship with Konami, because at that point, who knows? Maybe somehow, some way, we could even see in the future Metal Gear Solid continue to live on and also be resurrected. But now I'm just getting into completely fantasy, wishful thinking territory, because again, this is just a rumor we are talking about here, and we do have to take it with a grain of salt. But it seems like there are some very reliable sources who have been correct in the past here, and we've been hearing some rumblings for quite some time when it comes to Silent Hill. So we'll see, guys. I will keep you updated if we learn anything more. But the final thing I want to mention here, because I do believe it is important, regardless of whether or not it has anything to do with this rumor itself, is that apparently Hideo Kojima is in talks with Norman Reedus on collaborating again for future projects. It says here that Hideo Kojima and Norman Reedus clearly managed to strike up a friendship thanks to Death Stranding and everything which came with that, but the two creators might not be done there when it comes to working together. The star of The Walking Dead has stated in a new interview that the pair are, quote, in talks, unquote, with one another on the possibility of collaborating once more on a project in the future. Talking to Wired in the popular format of answering the web's most searched questions, Norman Reedus says, "So we did Death Stranding, which is a huge hit, and we're in talks to do other stuff. It is important to remember, however, that what the two could be discussing might not actually be a video game. Hideo Kojima has gone on record stating that he would like to explore making films with Kojima Productions in the future, and while Reedus is best known for his role in AMC's post-apocalyptic zombie survival story as Daryl Dixon, we imagine the jump from TV to cinema would not present too many troubles for the star." So yeah, I thought this was incredibly interesting, because I think a lot of people are wondering what exactly this could mean. Does this have anything to do with this rumor? I mean, I have to admit the timing of this is interesting, where Norman Reedus is like, yeah, me and Kojima are talking about doing more stuff in the future. We're in talks currently. Could this have something to do with Silent Hill? I mean, again, maybe I'm getting way too ahead of myself. I want to say it's unlikely, but you never know. Could it have something to do with a sequel to Death Stranding? I think that's possible, but I think it's also just as possible that it could be, in fact, for something non-video game related, because Kojima did say that he wants to start making movies, and I think he's actually going to. So who knows? Maybe the first movie from Kojima could end up starring Norman Reedus. We'll have to see about that, but nonetheless, I think all of this information is incredibly interesting, and I definitely had to take some time here to talk about it. It was one of those rumors that it seems like there's enough here to where I wouldn't say buy into it 100%. You should never do that with any rumor, but it seems like something is happening between Konami and Sony, possibly Kojima, but certainly with the Silent Hill IP. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about all this? What would you think if we ended up seeing 2 Silent Hill games on the PlayStation 5, one of which is actually being made by the original creator, and the other is being made by Hideo Kojima? How would you feel about that? Because that would just blow my mind. But let me know down below. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.